Hello guys, this is Boyd Spawn What If here, and this is going to be part 3 of What If Deku was experimented on. And so, in the last episode, I introduced our new subject, that being Shota Todoroki, the female version of, well, Todoroki from the anime. And well, let's see, her ID is Subject 0172 and her codename is Arachna. Since most of the quirks which she got and genetics were of arachnids, so spiders, acid, poison and all that good stuff. And also in the last episode, the main, scientist or doctor, with his name being Dr. Hayweather, yes, he simply told them, well, he sent them out on a mission because the, how do you say it? No, right, because the third finger were essentially the four main councils which have control over the entirety of the, company, genetic arc company. Yeah, their third finger, which specialized in politics, needed one politician, which was against the use of genetics and quirks, to be, well, eliminated. And that's when Deku and Shota were picked for the job, to essentially assassinate the politician and his entire family. That is, no, only the politician, not his family. And so, the last thing which we, well, heard in the last episode was just as both Deku and Shota bursted into the main room where the politician was, the ceiling essentially gets blown up and out of there crashes All Might. And now, with All Might simply saying his, well, rather famous catchphrase, "Do not worry, for I am here." And, well, before he could even finish that sentence, Deku simply, well, throws a punch right at him. And because Deku is 12.5 feet tall, I believe he is actually either the same height as All Might or even taller. So yeah, as Deku throws a punch, All Might easily catches it, because in this What If, the battle he had with All For One, he did sustain an injury, but it was rather an injury to his right arm. And well, thanks to the work of several other scientists, along with his good friend, I believe his name is John Shield, yeah, he was able to get a new cybernetic arm, which could in turn infuse his emitter quirk into it. So yeah, if anything, he's currently stronger than when he was in his prime. And so yeah, as Deku throws a punch, All Might easily catches it, but All Might does, recognize that Deku is a bit of a threat, mainly because he actually got pushed back a tiny bit. And just as All Might is about to throw another hook, that is an uppercut, his right arm gets something around it, that being webs from Shota. And before All Might can do anything, yeah, those webs turn into acid. And yeah, as All Might uses his, that when he punches he creates like a large burst of wind. Yeah, he essentially does that and is able to get rid of the webs on his arm and also pushes Shota into a wall. And yeah, after that he uses his other arm to essentially uppercut Deku, just like what he was going to do before Shota intervened. And as Deku gets not thrown into a wall, but like pushed several meters, All Might simply is wondering what sort of a quirk Deku has, because he is tall, he has speed, and he has strength. So he's sort of on the verge of thinking that he might have a sort of an emitter quirk, just like him. That being that is not an emitter quirk, and a stockpiling quirk, or something like that. And but as soon as he stops starts to think about it a little bit more, another explosion is heard, this time behind him. Several of the villains actually take the politician and well, essentially, start to run away. And at that point, All Might jumps in to catch them. And as Deku simply gets back up, he sees that neither the politician nor All Might aren't there anymore. And that's when he simply, sees All Might trying to catch the villains, which are currently in a helicopter, running away with the politician. And, well, before he can do anything, his earpiece simply starts to ring. As he answers the call, it's the head of the, the genetics and DNA division, that being like his main boss, which he listens to. He tells Deku basically this. Well then, it is a bit too late. Sadly you did fail your mission, but from what we can see, some other villains were able to get him instead. So, if they kill him, the mission will be successful. If they don't kill him, it's a fail. But anyways, from what we could tell, Arachna got knocked out. And several, convoys of police are heading your way, along with even more heroes. I would advise you to take Arachna, go to the sewers, and then go to these exact coordinates. There should be waiting several trucks, along with several of our company trucks. When you get into them, you're going to be taken back to your training facility. For your first mission, you weren't even that bad. You successfully were able to penetrate their defenses, and in all honesty, if the villains didn't attack, you would have probably been successful. Although, what can you do? Third parties are, well, they can't be accounted for. And anyways, take Arachna, get to the designated point, and get the hell out of there. With Deku responding, "Sir, yes, sir." And, well, he does exactly that. He goes ahead using his string and he breaks another hole, that is, another hole through the wall in the room which they were in. He takes Arachna and then goes to the nearby sewers. Although before that, several police, along with two heroes, try to stop him. Deku uses his energy, his energy manipulation quirk, and simply kills all the policemen and is able to knock out the heroes. Since both of the heroes had, a type of electricity quirk, so he couldn't exactly fry them immediately. But they were still knocked unconscious, and Deku simply took that as a win. And as he entered the sewers, he quickly noticed that some of the villains and mercenaries who had escaped the initial, essentially the initial massacre, which was done by Deku and Shota, they see him again. Now, Deku doesn't have any explicit orders to kill them, but he does see somebody who looks a bit higher ranking in their position. And so he kills all of the mercs and the two wounded villains and simply takes the person who looked like he was in charge. And after that, he heads on his merry way along with Shota, which he is currently carrying, essentially like a bag. And as he finally is able to get out of the sewer, he's met with several dozen genetics security detail and several other agents. And now Deku simply first gets Arachna out of there, and that's when he gives essentially the commanding officer of the mercenaries to several of their agents. The agents simply ask him why did he bring him, with Deku responding that, like this. Well, I simply thought that our security and imprisonment, sector would be happy to have him. After all, those villains did attack right after we had killed most of their centuries. So it may, well, I'm not saying that we may have a mole in the upper ups, but we have a mole in the upper ups. With the agents simply understanding and then calling in to report to their own boss. With the boss simply saying that Deku did a good job and yeah. As they put Arachna in one of the trucks and Deku gets in the other, they simply drive off to their facility. And that's when they simply meet up with Spike. Arachna is taken away to get several of her broken ribs a checkup, because even though her bones were strengthened a lot along with cybernetics, All Might is still the most powerful hero. In this What If, even more so, because both of his increased cybernetics and also because his quirk works, well, a bit differently. It is still the same type of stockpile quirk, with the more quirks it has, the more powerful it becomes. But in this What If, All Might also has his own quirk. He isn't quirkless like in the anime. And that being essentially unbreakable will. So yeah. The more willpower he has, the more powerful he will become. So essentially, if he wants to save someone and his will gets a lot stronger after that, his quirk will also get stronger. And that's how his quirks work. And yeah, after all of that was done, they simply lay low for a while. That while being several more, well, actually no. After several days, Arachna is ready to go yet again, Arachna being Shota. And, well, as Dr. Hayweather enters their training facility, he hands them out several, well, missions to do. Now, the first mission is to take out, yet again, another politician. The second mission involves Deku and Arachna targeting a military convoy which is currently has a high-profile villain inside of it, which may or may not be, well, a part of the company. And the third and final mission is, well, a tiny bit of a mess for them, because Deku and Arachna have to infiltrate UA. And by infiltrate, I don't mean like become students there, I just mean that they need to infiltrate it and like steal some documents. That's it. And yeah. And also the fact that both Deku and Shota are supposed to be dead doesn't exactly help them to try and cover the tracks. And yeah. For the first mission, as they need to kill a politician, Arachna is sent on it alone, because the politician is guarded by mainly mercenaries and other bodyguards the government had to simply give him. And well, on one simple night, as the politician is sleeping, his window slightly gets opened. The two guards which were in the room feel something grasp their necks. Before they could do anything, both of their heads simply roll onto the floor, as Shota had used her webs to essentially, entangle their necks, and then using her acid quirk, simply, well, tore them off. And well, as the heads fall to the ground along with the bodies, that actually wakes up the politician. Although it doesn't help him that much, as Shota's already in the room and uses one of her spider legs to essentially make a gaping hole through where the politician's heart is supposed to be. Well, he probably even never had a heart, considering that he was a politician, but hey, what can you do? But yeah, the first mission was a success. Now, the second mission. trying to get a high-profile villain and set him free from a military convoy. Now, on this mission, only Deku was sent. And yeah, has the convoy, which, by the way, since this is a high-ranking villain, has several heroes around it, several tanks, two APCs which are filled with, how do you say it, trained soldiers, and also one entire truck filled with special forces, 2 helicopters, and also Endeavor. So yeah. This, and well, if you guys are wondering, this villain is, let's see, essentially what his quirk is that he can cause mass earthquakes anywhere he goes if he wants to. So yeah. The sheer destructive potential this guy has was immense, especially because he almost leveled Tokyo before All Might was able to stop him. And essentially what, how do you say it, and what the company wants Deku to do is to stab the villain while he's in his restraints and simply get a genetic code of him along with, how do you say it, his quirk, and then simply kill him off so that nobody else can get it. And so, as Deku is slowly waiting, using his camouflage quirk in essentially a wooded part of the forest, he notices something. That something being in a strange black portal, that the same one which he had seen when he was trying to kill the first politician. Although this time somebody else comes out. That somebody being a man in a well-tailored suit who's also wearing a type of black mask. So yeah, that's all for one. And he's also there with several other, essentially what Deku at first thinks, subjects. And that's when he contacts the company and he asks them who the hell is this guy. And well, essentially has the 4 main heads of the, how do you say it, the entire company look at what Deku is doing through a camera. They simply respond that they don't know what 3 of those monsters are, although the 4th one seems to be a subject which had escaped containment. And well, this subject is essentially a quirk user who had the ability to make himself go transparent so that nothing could touch him. Sort of like Mirio, but he couldn't pass through solid objects. And due to several experiments and also genetics being given to him, he was turned into a horrific monster which could not only go through solid objects, he could also take out anything he wanted from where he ever wanted. So yeah, essentially if he wanted to, he could go up to a hero's, how do you say it, to a hero, and the hero couldn't even touch him, although he could simply grab the hero's heart and yank it out of its chest. So yeah, he was a rather powerful subject. And the sheer fact that he had escaped was due to a villain attack which had happened on one of their, how do you say it, American branch companies. And yeah, that's when the leader of the, how do you say it, second finger, that being security, simply goes ahead and tells Deku to stand by. They will be sending both Spike, Arachna, and several of their own soldiers there. With Deku simply responding yes. But before he could ask any further questions, All for One already does his attack, and as Deku is looking, several black spikes with something like red electricity running through them completely destroy half of the entire convoy. The special forces, the 1 APC and 2 tanks, destroyed in under 10 seconds. And yeah, the Deku's 4, well, bosses As they see this, yeah, they also simply alert All Might. Since, of course, in the public eye, they're a well-respected company. Although inside, yeah, not so much. And now, as the heroes simply get an alert that somebody had just attacked a high-profile villain's convoy, and that also that he's someone wearing a black mask, yeah, All Might knows exactly who that is, with that being All For One. And as All Might immediately essentially jumps off from where he was, and the police, the army, along with several other heroes also go there. And if you guys are wondering why All For One is there, well, rather obvious. The guy's quirk is literally that he can make earthquakes happen wherever he wants. And the magnitude of those earthquakes is 6.5 on the Richter scale, I believe it's called. So yeah, they're rather strong. And now, as Endeavor starts using his fire quirk, which is at this point evolved into blue fire because of his cybernetics and, well, illegal cybernetics and also some genetics, that is, genetic upgrades which were done by the company, yeah, he actually starts to win against All For One, with even All For One thinking what the hell's going on and how can a second-rate villain like Endeavor beat him. But, well, that was until All For One didn't use his Nomus. And now, these Nomus were actually also genetically modified and had several quirks in them. And the way All For One was able to genetically modify them was thanks to the doctor, which was in the anime. The same doctor which Deku had, and also the one who took care of All For One. And yeah, that doctor's quirk in this What If is going to be genetic modification. He can take any sort of gene he wants and modify it so that it can go into a human body. But only human bodies. He can't give genetic, codes, or whatever the hell it's called, genetic material, to animals or something like that. Only humans. And yeah, as those Nomus now attack Endeavor, Endeavor notices something. All three of these Nomus are completely fire resistant. And yeah, Endeavor simply says to him, "Ah, shit," before getting uppercutted by one of them. The other three heroes which were there all get torn up to shreds by the other three. And well, as All For One simply sends subject, let's simply say subject 0526, which is, the ghost. Yeah, let's just call it ghost for a short-term dancer. And as he sends ghost, something else happens. That something else being that a gigantic diamond simply encases the entire ghost. And one small problem, because the ghost actually didn't completely make himself transparent. So, although his brain, like his head, is transparent, the rest of his body isn't. And because of that, he can't move at all, because he can't activate his quirk, which the origin point of his quirk is actually in his chest. So yeah, he can't do anything. And just as All For One is gonna see what the hell just happened to essentially what he thinks is experiment, he gets uppercutted by Deku, who used his super speed to essentially go there and, yeah, punch him. Because Spike, Arachna, along with essentially a whole battalion of genetic Arc Company soldiers and mercenaries arrived. And, well, as All For One sees this, he goes ahead into a hand-to-hand, battle with Deku, with All For One actually being a bit surprised at how powerful this thing is. Because keep in mind, neither Deku nor Arachna look like humans anymore. Because Deku doesn't exactly look like this. That is, like, he does look like that, but he's currently wearing a bunch of armor on him. And also, and that armor being the scales of the dragonoid subject. So yeah, he essentially looks like a monster which has 16 different eyes. And yeah. Now, as All For One uses his strength quirk, along with several other ones, he's able to push Deku quite a bit, although he didn't break Deku's armor. And just as All For One is about to use another one of his quirks, that being something similar to Bakugo, except it's in a laser form, so essentially anything which the laser he shoots out touches explodes. But before he could do that, Arachna, Shota simply shoots a web right into his arm. And that is just as about he is going to, that is, crap, sorry guys, I'm a bit tired. And so Arachna shoots her web right at his arm, just about as he is going to shoot his laser. And he does shoot it out, but it hits the web, which is essentially right on his arm, and then the explosion tears off his right arm. So yeah. Now at that point, Deku goes ahead and tries to take the final blow. He hardens his hand with his scales, essentially making it into a blade, and then also covering that blade with dark blue energy, which, let's just call it, well, actually no, let's just say pure energy. So yeah, and as he's about to do that, he gets interrupted, and that being All Might, who just jumped in between them and created a gigantic crater where he jumped to. And yeah, just about as the Genetics Arc company's soldiers had been completely dealt with, all three of the Nomos along with the soldiers, even more police, soldiers, and at this point even fighter planes enter the area. And yeah, that's a bit of a problem. But essentially what happens now is that Spike makes several formations using his diamond quirk, and makes small spikes, like hundreds of them, across the ground. As soon as he sees a jet, those small spikes shoot out. He's able to take care of 2 of the jets which were there, although more are on their way along with more soldiers. And at this point, the Spike simply tells to his, the security and imprisonment boss, like the main guy, he tells him that he needs to get all of his soldiers out of here, because if even more Japanese actual soldiers, along with even more jets arrive, all of them are going to become mincemeat. And by all of them, he meant all of his soldiers. And yeah, after he said that, he issues a wide retreat order, but he also tells Spike to at least kill the villain, which can do earthquakes, with Spike replying with well, of course. Now, as Spike is going there, somebody gets in his way. That somebody being Cementos, that being the pro hero which can control cement. And yeah, as both Spike and Cementos get into a battle, Cementos realizes rather, well, late, that diamonds can break through cement. So yeah, Cementos is beaten rather easily, with only one, attack being enough to completely break him. And yeah, Spike simply breaks through the door of the, military truck which had the villain inside of it, and that's when he notices something. Not only is the villain dead, like he has already been freed and then shot in the back of the head, he also sees somebody right behind him. leave it. And now that somebody is, well, looks peculiar. That is how they said. I think you guys know what I meant. And well, he essentially has a long trench coat and a completely black mask with the hood covering his hair. He simply looks at Spike and then says in a deep voice, "Soon," and then leaves the portal. Although this time the portal isn't black, but it's rather, well, sort of a light green color. And yeah, as Spike simply tells this information to his boss simply replies with, "Oh great, who else is going to fucking join? We are already fighting against one of the, how you said, greatest villains, the greatest hero, the Japanese army and heroes." Great, who else do we need? And now, going back to Deku and Arachna, who are currently going up against All Might along with All for One. All Might shoots another, how do you say it, blast of wind, essentially pressurized wind, towards Arachna. Although this time, Arachna uses her 8 spider legs to block the attack by essentially making a shield in front of her. And yeah, before All Might could throw another punch, Deku is already in front of him, and Deku, with using his dark, how do you say it, energy manipulation quirk, along with his scales, and essentially every single bit of power put into his right hand, he is able to actually hurt All Might. He's able to break his left arm. And yeah, All Might gets pushed back rather significantly. That's when All for One goes for Deku. And yeah, All for One is successful in touching Deku, although there's only one small problem. He can't get the quirk out, because the thing which is around Deku isn't a quirk. It was a genetically modified, essentially, lizard, which gave Deku his scaly armor. And yeah, just as All for One is doing that, he simply feels something. That something being a blade of, how do you say it, a blade of crystals right through his abdomen. That being Spike. And now, as Spike retracts, his spikes, he tells to both Deku and Arachna that we're getting the hell out of here. The mission was sort of a success. And yeah, that's when they simply begin to run. And with All Might is able to capture All for One, with Kurogiri not being able to do anything. Because yeah, he can't exactly teleport his severely weakened and almost dead master along with the #1 hero. And yeah, that's how All for One gets captured. And at this point, All Might is actively looking for both Deku and Arachna, along with most of the police force in the entirety of Japan. Because yeah, to have, how do you say it, things like them, because at this point all of them think that both Deku and Arachna aren't even humans at this point. Because you see, the way that Arachna walks, it's not using her, human legs. She uses her 8 spider legs, with her human legs always being in a sort of a, cocoon, which is rather hard to break. But when she needs to, she can break off the cocoon from the inside, and the cocoon essentially becomes the armor which she can wear. And yeah, as Deku, Spike, and Arachna get onto the helicopter which came to pick them up, they hear something, and a sonic boom, shall we say. And now, the person who is now after them is, the person who is now after them is actually Present Mike. And yeah, his quirk is still, well, it's almost the same as in the anime. His quirk, which allows him to, how do you say it, make his words a lot, how do you say it, to make his volume a lot higher. Yeah, he still has it, except that he can also now redirect what's coming from his mouth to both of his hands and legs. So yeah, and that's what he's currently using to get to them. But yeah, as he uses his, well, yelling to try and, how do you say it, take down the helicopter, which has both Deku and Arachna in it. And yeah, at that point, Spike comes out of nowhere, because Spike was supposed to get to a truck, although yeah, he simply refused the idea and went ahead to save his students. And yeah, Deku and Arachna saw Spike as a father figure, and seeing him essentially fight against Present Mike gave them a bit of, how do you say it, hope, because he's a weak hero after all, at least for Spike. Somebody even quite literally closed both of his ears. But that's when they kill another sonic boom, a lot stronger than the one which Present Mike did. That being All Might. He had just helped the police force and the army restrain All for One, and now went there. And just as about as All Might was going to punch Spike, he's able to create a crystallized ball in front of him, and as All Might's hand crashes into it, his cybernetics, that being like his robotic hand, gets pretty messed up, because yeah, the diamonds are still strong. Although, even though as strong as diamonds are, All Might, using essentially his willpower, is able to break through to them and knock out Spike. And at this point, both of All Might's arms are pretty broken, and he can't do anything about Deku and Arachna, which are currently flying away. And yeah, as they finally arrive back at their base, or the rendezvous point, the second leader, or the second finger, that being security management, simply asks Deku and Arachna where the hell is Spike, with both of them simply replying, captured. And yeah, before they can even do anything, he simply goes to a computer screen, and they see essentially exactly what Spike sees, by being like through his eyes. And that's when the second security manager, or yeah, the manager of the second core, essentially types something into the computer. And yeah, exactly as they saw his eyes, the next thing they see is, well, nothing. The screen goes black. And what that was a miniature bomb which was placed in Spike's neck. When that exploded, it completely tore up his nervous system and also blew up his head right off of his body. And now, both Deku and Arachna now completely and utterly turned hostile, because that bastard just killed essentially who they thought was their father. And yeah, just as about as they were gonna kill, like, their second boss, a sharp pain goes all throughout their body. That being, well, the cybernetics which were put into them. They couldn't move on their own, because the cybernetics completely replaced their bones. And yeah, the second security manager simply sighed and then said, I was honestly hoping that both of you would have grown out of your, well, rebellious phase, but apparently not. And the sheer fact that you actually try to kill me right now for killing another pathetic monster, because that's exactly what you guys are. You're monsters. And that's how everyone sees you as. But Okay, I'm sorry about that, guys. I believe that I left off with a significant speech. Okay, so let's see. Has the second, how do you say it? The second leader of the second branch, being security, simply tells to both Deku and Arachna as they're immobilized. After he sighs, I am truly, truly disappointed. I thought that both of you had finally realized what you were and what your purpose was. All of those people who you had killed, they were our enemies. It really doesn't matter if you see us as that we're evil or not, because in truth, there is nobody in this world who is, well, good or evil. It all simply represents a completely stupid ideology, just like the heroes and villains. But, oh well, you just tried to kill me. I mean, it's not like you didn't try to do this before. Hell, even Spike tried to do it. But the sheer fact that Spike was the only thing which was holding you tied to us, well, you don't have to worry. We won't kill you. Both of you are too valuable of assets to kill you in such a wasteful manner. But don't worry, because what we're going to do to you, you are going to wish that you were dead. And after that little speech, with Deku and Arachna, neither of them being able to respond because, yeah, they couldn't move their lips, no anything. The head of the security management simply tells several of his guards or agents to load up both Deku and Arachna into separate trucks and to take them into two separate facilities. These ones being purely for containment. And yeah, as Deku is sent to a bit of a more, that is, Deku is sent to Eclipse. Eclipse being the underground facility which was meant to hold extremely powerful and devastating subjects which the Foundation or which the company had made, while Arachna or Shota was sent into a different type of facility. This one was also in a type of facility which was used to, well, contain the subjects and experiments they made, although this one was a bit more for, well, arena battles essentially, or yeah. The different types of scientists would experiment on their own, as they call them, gladiators, and then see which ones would win and which ones wouldn't. This was for two different reasons. The first reason being that they would see which one of them was stronger, and the second being the main reason, all of them were simply, well, fucking idiots, and also extremely and utterly, well, essentially psychopaths. They wanted to see how these experiments, which were once people, killed each other, and simply letting go of any type of humanity which they had left. And yeah, that's where Shota was sent. With that facility only being called the arena. And yeah, Deku is sent to the Eclipse, while Shota is sent to the arena. And now, I hope that you guys enjoyed part 3 of What If Deku Was Experimented On, and I hope you have a great day.